Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. We're going to watch Vowles, the new team principal of Williams. For the cameras, let's watch the video.
We're now down at Williams, delighted to be joined by James Vowles and of course Martin Brundle and Naomi Schiff. Tell us about that session because it looked pretty promising from Alex in P6.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, we were strong here last year as well. So there's some elements of this track that definitely suit the car, but in these conditions, and it's more suited to kite surfing than it is to driving a Formula One car around there. It's actually good to see that the car's working well, because when it's windy and when it's gusty, you need a predictable car, a good foundation underneath you, and Alex looked pretty happy out there. With Logan, it's not as offset as it looks. We did 2 laps in a row and then he got caught by traffic. That's not the right way of using those tyres, so I think that's on us fundamentally, but I think we got 2 cars that should be in the mix this weekend.
Because I have to say, we were slightly concerned about you in the Williams, because every time we talk to Alex, he tells us how sensitive the car is to wind change.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way, downforce fixes everything. You add downforce, things just get a bit easier. But with drivers, what I've noticed is everything's relative. When you're a little bit quicker, it's a little bit less sensitive to wind as well. So,
James, you had 5 items in the show and tell this morning, upgrades on your car. How will you now validate whether they worked or not?
The typical way, the old way that we would have done this is a runway with no wind, straight line. You can't do that anymore, not in Formula One terms. It's not ideal this weekend, but on the car itself, there is obviously a huge amount of sensors these days. So you're akin to about 30,000 channels of data. Of those, underneath the floor, there are effectively consider them like pitot tubes, but there's hundreds of them, and we're measuring basically static and dynamic pressure, and we're understanding how the car's performing corner on corner, and then inside the suspension members as well, we have the ability to measure vertical load. So that gives you a global view of have we added downforce, what have we done to the drag, and the floor sensors and the front wing and the rear wing allow you to make sure that you can see additional suction, which is what this package should be producing. And thus far, it's okay, but in these conditions, very quickly, hard to ascertain that.
Now, big exciting news coming a couple of days into the summer break, that Carlos is joining your team. Now, it feels like it was a long time coming. You'd been making a decision all year long. It was rumored for a long time. So just tell me, firstly, do you feel you won the jackpot? And secondly, what took so long?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, I don't know how to express it more than this. When we told the news to the factory, I wish I could bottle that moment and give it to all of you just to sample a little bit, because it was this expression of joy and emotion from nearly 1,000 people that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And that's what it meant to Williams. What it meant to me is it's one of the most momentous occasions in my career, really, to that level. We have an individual that's a race winner that I think I've been using words to show the intent of Williams. There's nothing better than that, than to have a world-class driver. And I truly believe we have one of, if not the best driver combinations on the grid moving forward. There's no politics between the two of them. They're just hungry for performance. As to why it took so long is, the reality behind it is half the grid was chasing him. And when you've got that circumstance, for him, it will take a period of time to ascertain who is really the right option that I want to commit to for the long term. And our deal is very long. There are, effectively, after 26, we can take a review, both of us. But from his perspective, what he wanted to commit to in his mind is, do I want to be somewhere for 4 years? And if it is, what does it look like?
Is it true that you were talking to him as early as Abu Dhabi at the end of last year? And if so, you obviously had some confidence that you'd be able to prize him away from Ferrari, not knowing that Lewis had signed for them at that point.
So the only driver, absolutely, it was Abu Dhabi last year, is when I was speaking to certainly the family. We snuck in Carlos Senior. So everyone's called Carlos Sainz. That's what you need to know. Everyone.
Yeah, because his cousin's the same.
Cousin's the same. Yeah. So we snuck them in actually to my office in Abu Dhabi, which worked very well. No one knew they were there except when they walked out. Carlos Senior is just one of the most famous people in the world, and you just can't prevent the fact that we had a huge gathering around him. But the talking then was because I highlighted in 23, you look at his career against Max in Toro Rosso, look at his career in McLaren against Lando, look at his career Ferrari against Charles. He is an impressive individual. More importantly, he's someone that, for me, when he goes to a team, that team improves because he's a worker. He's effectively not just quick in the car, but quick in how he brings the team together. And for Williams, I felt the fit would absolutely spot on. Now, he's in Ferrari in 23, and as far as I'm going, in Ferrari in 24 and beyond. So that conversation was more, we're here, this is our intent, this is what we're doing. I know you're going to have options on the table, but always think about us.
Secret admirers from distance.
I love the Monty Python analogy. Rule number 1, all call Carlos Sainz. But
That's right.
did you just say, effectively, that he does not have an option out at the end of 25. You said end of 26. So if Red Bull or Mercedes have a seat, he couldn't go there?
Actually, there on camera, all I said is fundamentally we have a 4-year arrangement of which after 26, both parties can go out. Anything beyond that point is not really something I'd ever talk about openly. I don't talk about his pay.
Before that point, 25.
And all of that will never be spoken about openly. What I've spoken about there is Carlos himself has said I'm here for 25, 26. That's the way he sees it. I'm actually extending it beyond there and saying I'm hoping he's here for 25, 26, 27, 28. That's the extent of the deal that we signed at the moment.
So he clearly sees a future within your team and that you've given him some sort of promise. So what is it that you've assured him of in terms of where this team is going over the next few years?
So here's, I think, the secret sauce behind it. From the beginning, I told him all of the truth, warts and all. But this is now back in 23, so explained, here's what 24 is going to look like, here's what 25 is going to look like, here's the updates we've got, here's the problems we've got. And when you're doing it across that period of time, which is 9 months, there's nothing you can hide. Everything will come to the forefront of it. And I think what he realized with me is I'll tell you everything, the good and the bad that goes with it. And my promises to him were all of the things that are coming in the pipeline in the future. Some of them have already been public, some of them are not at this stage. And I think what he learned to realize with me is that there's a good journey here. It's one that's going to be difficult. He knows that as well. 25 is going to be a tough year. 26 will be more interesting. But I think that transparency helped to create that relationship.
You'll be the 5th team that Carlos has driven for in Formula One. What do you think he can bring to you from the other teams he's been with, like Ferrari and McLaren?
I mean, first of all, when you win a race, and when you win a race with a team like Ferrari, they're on the leading edge, and not just Ferrari, look at where McLaren are. McLaren have the car now, but they have the capacity to do championship level. That's what I define things. And this is how we get there fundamentally. And not all drivers can do that. Carlos can. So what he brings to the party is he'll make sure everyone elevates themselves that can elevate themselves to a championship level, which is what I still consider Ferrari to be, and I definitely consider McLaren to be. He will bring that, but in every area. When you speak to a driver of that caliber, they'll focus on the tiny minutiae, clutch pedal positioning, for example, down to the level of detail of how quickly we can process data live for him while he's in the car, down to the detail of how macroly across the year he needs a balance adjust for him to suit his style. That's what he brings to the party, but it's across 1,000 areas.
So I know you mentioned, I don't know what the word was exactly used, there's no ego or sort of the drivers get along well, but clearly this is going to be a shift for the team because Alex is obviously the leader in the team. Carlos is coming in with all this, added value that he's going to bring to the team as well. How do you strike that balance? How are you going to manage that?
So that it was no politics was the main word. I've worked in plenty of teams with plenty of drivers where there's a larger fight between the two than there is about anything else.
Can't imagine who you're talking about.
So, no names mentioned.
No.
But here, both Carlos and Alex are understanding that the project is about bringing the team forward. When the team's forward, let's then create an environment where you can fight each other to the end of the ability. But this is about bringing the team forward in that circumstance. And both of those have that characteristic, which is let's perform in the car, but it's not about fighting the small minutiae detail between each other and getting lost in that moment. And it's what I enjoy about both of them. I mean, Carlos as well as I do. His character is actually a brilliant, as I said, his words, not mine. I'm a performance machine. He is. Absolutely. Create the right environment. You can hand it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Alex has come to Williams and somewhat reinvigorated his career, blossomed, if you like, under your guidance, but also within the team. What do you think he will learn specifically? Because it feels as if he's still a work in progress, despite all his experience.
Definitely. If you speak to Alex, he'll say the same thing. And it's, again, one of the aspects I enjoy about him. He wants to continuously improve, not just the team around him, but himself. He's always working to develop himself. The difference now is when you have two drivers that are fighting for the same millisecond, you find different ways of adapting and driving, different ways of using the differential, the BMIG, the control systems, the race engineers, how quickly you can look at data. And you'll see how quickly that pushes Alex forward as well. When you're always leading against your teammates, you're effectively not pushed to that same level. And every elite athlete I've ever worked with, you find a new way of forcing yourself into a new domain that you haven't been before. You go into the uncomfortable region and you become better for it.
And what about Logan? Because it's not going to be an easy end to the year for him. How do you manage that and the team morale as a whole?
So Logan was aware of my decision effectively to move on before the world was, clearly, and a good amount before as well. Logan remains a Williams driver, and I have a responsibility towards him to ensure that he remains a professional driver, earning income from the sport he's in. And we're working with him to try and find opportunities in and around, it could be other categories, it could be elsewhere fundamentally. He's still one of the top 20 drivers in the world in the sport. We shouldn't forget that. And I hope that you'll see as we get this car further forward, him moving forward relative to the field, and I think that will do his career an immense amount of good. But I have a responsibility to make sure that he has a future career beyond this, and we'll make sure we do that as Williams.
That's really good to hear that he still has your support. So yeah, thank you for your time. Great insight, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That's a lot of saying from James Vowles, the team principal of Williams. First of all, they are very happy that Carlos Sainz is going to be their new driver in 2025, just beside Pierre Gasly, and Logan Sargent is out. But as he said, Logan is going to be their third driver, maybe, or something in between, or a helper, or something like that, or assistant. And they won't just kick him out of the Williams. In other words, James Vowles had been trying to convince Carlos Sainz to come to Williams from 2023. As I understood, he was working with his father. He was trying to convince them to come. He showed Carlos Sainz all the cards, let's say like that. He opened up to him with all the problems, with all the beneficence, with all the updates that's gonna come, with all the things around the team of Williams, and the improvement that they're going to make, the things that are going to happen, how they're going to improve their car, how the team is going to move forward, and all of those detailed things. James Vowles was talking to Carlos Sainz about them. Also, he's very happy because he's going to get a driver that has a lot of experience in Formula One. Carlos Sainz is going to be driving in his fifth team in Formula One career. So Williams is going to be his fifth team to be driving in Formula One. So yeah, he was driving for McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, etc., etc. About the other detailed things, I'm not gonna go into it deep. Just watch the video and you will understand everything what James Vowles has said in this interview. So thank you everyone for watching this video with us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. If you have something to add up, comment down below. We will discuss this together, and I will see you in the next one.